Hello, hello, hello. Good evening. Welcome to another Folks Talking Sports. Houston Roundball Review presents Folks Talking Sports. I am Kris Gardner, one of the co-hosts. Joining me, the other two, Willy Gibson and Yanez. Willy Gibson, how are you, sir, from Ohio?
All is well, sir. How about you down there in Texas?
I'm doing pretty well. It stopped raining.
Okay.
Andy
Yeah, it's
Yanez,
been raining the whole day. Last
yeah,
2 days.
you were just at U of H, Andy, for
Just
men's
made it in
basketball
time.
practice. Just made it back in time. We're going to get to that and what you were able to see in a few minutes. But and that's for people who are tuning in. First part, we're going to talk NBA Rockets, i.e. John Wall and that situation. And then get a little bit into Ben Simmons. And then the rest of the time is going to be really Will with his Ohio State update, but U of H men's and women's basketball because practice started for the 2021-22 season this week. So we're going to talk about that. The fellas' first day of practice was today, while the women's first day was Wednesday. But first things first, you got to hear this. The Rockets had their media day on Monday, September 27th. Training camp began on the 28th. They've been in Galveston since Tuesday the 28th, and they'll be there until tomorrow. They're going to scrimmage tomorrow. Then they're going to come back here for practices in H-Town starting on Monday with their first preseason game Tuesday versus the Washington Wizards. But first up, y'all just got to hear this. And if you haven't already seen it at the YouTube channel, the Houston Roundball Review YouTube channel, this is part of the John Wall, Rafael Stone media session from Monday's media day. You just got to hear this, folks. Here we go.
Again, what changed is just we had a bunch of conversations about what's best for John and what's best for us and how to find a happy median. So, and we were having those, but real life happens. And so it's, I don't want to suggest that we weren't having those conversations in May or whatever. We were, but real life happens and your perspective changes and other things happen in his life and looking at opportunities and for our team and looking at opportunities. And that's why you keep talking. And that's why you try and find things, that work for you now and the world might change again. And then we're just going to talk, like I do think the thing I appreciate the most about John is how easy he is to discuss things with on kind of a very real level. Yeah, that's what I would say. So like anytime you're talking and communicating, you're talking and communicating. But I think what we found, we think is going to work for the foreseeable future. That's I can't give you more, at least from my perspective, I can't give you more than that. I don't know if you have a thought.
No, not really. Basically, like what we spoke on, like he said, we both just been having conversations. The season's been over, and then going through summer league and going through the draft and things like that. We just been talking and figuring out through both groups of our parties, and we both decided it's the best situation to do what we're doing. And like I said, while I'm here, I'm going to continue to work out, prepare myself for whatever situation comes my way. But just help these young guys out as much as possible. Like teach them everything I learned throughout these last 12 to 13 years I've been in the NBA, and teach them how to be a pro on and off the court, and then critique their game and try to help them get better day by day.
Okay. I mean, there you have it. John Wall and Rafael Stone, they're people from both sides agreed to sit John, have John be a coach, basically, until they can find a deal amenable to both sides. Beyond that, John Wall will be a coach. He won't play for the Rockets. He will travel with the team on the road, and he'll get paid, but he won't play. Thoughts on that?
Let's see. I was taking notes. They talked, they discussed, they communicated, and they spoke. And this is what they came up with. And then two, what is it with Houston? Because Deshaun Watson's getting paid but not playing. Now John Wall's getting paid, not playing. They were ready to do that with James Harden. What is it? Yeah, interesting. They talked. They communicated and discussed and spoke.
Andy?
Yeah, I mean, there's not much more you can say. The interesting thing that caught my attention was whenever Rafael Stone said, it changes. I mean, maybe it'll change again. I found that interesting, but I don't think anything will change in terms of John Wall playing for the Rockets again. But yeah, it's kind of rare. I mean, and especially in the NBA, when you see it's now rare all the time. I mean, look at in Philadelphia that Ben Simmons wants out of Philly, but you don't see him talking with the general manager, talking about, "Yep, this is what we agreed to. This is what we're gonna do." And until I get traded, I'm not gonna play, but I'll be in the facility. I'll stay working out, and I'll help the younger guys any way that I can. That's rare. That's something that honestly I've never seen before. I know you two have covered the NBA much longer than I have or been around it. So I don't know if you guys have ever seen anything like that, but for me, that's rare.
This is unique. Okay, this is very unique. And Andy, I'm glad you brought up Ben Simmons in Philly, because today was, being October 1st, the date that Ben Simmons was to receive 25% of his salary for this season. And because he's not there, the Sixers decided they're not going to pay him. Well, that's not an incentive to get Ben to come to Philly. Ben already said earlier in the week that he's not coming. He's told his teammates, don't bother coming here to talk to me, to come join y'all in Philly. I'm not coming. I'm done. So Daryl Morey, I guess the Sixers are trying to call Ben's bluff. But according to ESPN's Ramona Shelburne, Ben and his people, Ben's ready to sit out the whole year. So how long is this going to go on? Ben has money, okay? He's due more money this season, and we could all use money. It's not act like I'm going to turn down money, but he really believes. And the Sixers brought this on themselves, okay? Doc Rivers said he threw Ben under the bus when they got eliminated in the playoffs. Now Doc trying to walk it back like he didn't say it. Ben ain't forgot that. He not forgot what Joel Embiid said months ago. Ben hasn't forgot how the Sixers, in Ben's eyes, built a team around Joel instead of him. Joel had a good comeback, but Philly did everything for you when they got rid of Jimmy Butler. But where do y'all think this is going to go? I mean, it's a contrast, because yes, the Rockets and John Wall have agreed to not pay John Wall. I mean, to pay John Wall, but not play John Wall. Whereas Ben and Daryl Morey are not talking ever again in life, apparently. So who's going to blink first in Philly?
Yeah, bring up a comment that Brandon Thomas said. It speaks volumes in terms of, the willingness that Rafael Stone was able to do with John Wall and being that communication, obviously, with where both John Wall and the team is. They certainly have different goals, especially for this upcoming year. So talk it out and find a resolution. And I mean, it's just so odd for them to be in agreement and be able to have a unified message to reporters. And look at Philadelphia, where I mean, I'd imagine that if Ben Simmons doesn't want to play for Philadelphia ever again, he probably won't play for Philly. And it puts Daryl Morey in between a rock and a hard place, because if you trade him, there's going to be teams that won't be, I guess, market value, if that's the right word, or they're going to get a lot less in return than what you would be, just in terms of, well, if Ben Simmons isn't going to play for you, you don't have the leverage of, asking for more. At the end of the day, what are you going to do? Are you going to keep eating that contract until Ben Simmons either, like they say, they call his bluff for him to show up, or for, Philadelphia to cave in and send him one way? And that's the other thing, since Philadelphia is in win now mode, I don't think they can afford to have Ben Simmons sit out and not get anything in return and just play the season without getting something resolved.
Yeah, well, where do you stand on this, on the Ben Simmons stuff?
It's so complex, Chris, because you look at a year of a 6'10" player who played power forward, and someone came up with the ingenious idea to put him at point guard, and he can't shoot. And now
can't shoot, and won't shoot.
And won't shoot. Right. And so now, and his reports, it depends on who you believe, he doesn't work on this game. He's been coddled. He's been babied, and now his first true taste of controversy, he wants to run. And I don't know. I think Philly's had it. No, not think. I know Philly's had it. Joel Embiid has had it. Basically said with the comments that they did everything for you when they got rid of Jimmy Butler, and everybody knows Joel and Jimmy were and are still tight. So I don't know. It's just and when I think of Ben Simmons, you think you see the LA Fitness videos in the summer. He's shooting threes. He's working on his game allegedly, but it doesn't translate to the season, and it clearly didn't translate to the playoffs against the Hawks. So he's going to get traded. Everyone's they're in the stare down. Who's going to blink first? It's irreparable. He's not coming back to Philly. There's no way. Now it's just Morey, Elton Brand, Rich Paul. They got to work out a deal that's amenable to everybody. Philly's not going to get 3 first-round picks and whatever else the reports are that they're asking for. It's over for Ben Simmons in Philly, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. Brandon, we'll talk about Ben Simmons. I want to get back to one of the things real quick. In the press conference with John Wall and Rafael Stone, Rafael said, as of this week, as of Monday, the Rockets are not considering a buyout for John Wall. And per Rafael, it's not in the best interest of the Rockets, nor is it in the best interest of John Wall. So as of right now, not going to be a buyout. Just going to be John Wall, Coach John Wall, player Coach John Wall, going on the road, talking to the young guys, help them become professionals, that role. Ben Simmons is in the first year of a 4-year extension. So in that sense, the Sixers have leverage because they got Ben for 4 years. But if Ben says, I'm not playing, and he sticks to it, then Philly has an asset that is a hole in their lineup, a hole on their roster, and they start losing. Not saying they're going to, but if they do, then you got to trade it. You're going to have to lower your demands and just get something for him that's reasonable. Every GM wants to ask for the moon initially. Then you got to come back to reality and make the best deal still for you and the other party. But Daryl Morey, folks in Houston know, who follow me for years, and Will, Andy, we're new in our working relationship. You may not know. I'm not a fan of Daryl Morey. Okay, I never drank the tea of in Morey we trust and all that kind of stuff. No, that ain't me. Okay, so he called Ben Simmons bluff. Ben said, "Okay, I'm good. I'm well off right now. I don't need the money. They already paid me 25% of my salary. That's $8.25 million. I'll live off that. I'm good with that." So, only thing I give Morey credit for is when he made a mistake, he tried to correct it as soon as possible. Well, this is a mistake in my opinion. So he needs to correct this as soon as possible. Well, before we get into U of H basketball for a good part of the show, let's talk the Ohio State. And Andy, I don't want to say it mocking and making fun of the American and Michael Resco, but got to talk about that move news today as well. So, Will, you got some Ohio State news to share?
I do. We talked about it last week. Why I don't mess with the point spread. They beat Akron. They played Akron. The point spread was 53. Ohio State was a 53-point favorite. And what did they do? They won 59-7 by 52, not 53. So somebody in Vegas knows what they're doing clearly. But Ohio State did win against Akron in a money game. Akron received $1.8 million to go back home with that L, and it was a game that you expected it to be. A lot of second and third team guys got a chance to play in the second half. C.J. Stroud did not play, resting his shoulder. He is on tap to start tomorrow for Ohio State at Rutgers. And I started to see the rationale behind sitting him against Akron. Clearly, it's a game Ohio State can win without him, but they're trying to get him as healthy as they can for Penn State on October 30th. So they sat him against Akron. He plays October 2nd and October 9th against Rutgers in Maryland. Then there's the bye week for Ohio State. He gets another full week off. So 2 weeks out of 4, he's not playing. Let's get that shoulder as healthy as possible so he can hopefully be ready for the stretch run for the end of the season. But Ohio State, and this is a disrespect factor. You could tell that the fans are back on track because they feel disrespected that Ohio State is only favored by 16 against Rutgers. Because Rutgers, by any stretch of the imagination, it's as long as they've been in the Big Ten, Ohio State has beat them by 50 plus each time they've played. So to only be favored by 16 on the road at Rutgers, it's viewed as disrespect.
But Rutgers, aren't they playing better this year so far?
They are. Yeah, they did go to Michigan last week and lost 20-14. Graciano, former Ohio State defensive coordinator, is in year 3 as head coach of Rutgers' second tenure actually at Rutgers. So they are playing better. They are playing without their starting cornerbacks that have been suspended for some off the field situations they found themselves in. So yes, they're playing better, but it's Ohio State. The fandom is the fandom.
It's the fans. Yeah.
Yeah. It's short for fanatic for a reason, as we all know. But yeah, they feel disrespected and slighted that they're only favored by 16 against lowly Rutgers.
Andy, do you have an update of U of H football in Tulsa right now?
I do. Currently, Tulsa just broke off about a 20-yard run, but UH is doing real good. They're up 14-0.
How did they score? Excuse me, because when I got into the studio, it was 0-0, and U of H starting cornerback got tossed for targeting, and that's when I got on here.
They've had 2 scores. One, the last one was a chunk play where they were around midfield, and it was like a screenplay to their receiver's name is Jeremy Singleton. He broke a tackle and it took a 47-yard touchdown, and the other was literally just finishing a drive and ended with a 1-yard scoring touchdown. So our offense has been able to produce. Actually, they could be up 21-0 because one of the Marcus Jones had a pick 6 as well, but it got called back. But
well,
they're off to a good start, but Tulsa's threatening a little bit. They just ended the first quarter.
But if U of H wins this game, they'd be 4-1. And I think when we made our predictions a month ago, that's what we thought. Roughly, they'd be 4-1 after 5 games. I think that's what I did. I had them losing to Texas Tech to start the season, then winning 4 in a row, then losing to Tulane because, point blank, I like their head coach more than Dana. And then I think the next game after that is a Thursday night game. So I didn't have them win. They got today, Friday, then next Friday, and then a Thursday. That's a lot of game in a short amount of time. So I think the stumbles will begin. But go ahead.
First, I was going to say, Clayton Tune looks real good out there, real sharp. Obviously, a big part of it is who they're playing with Tulsa, but he's 9 for 12, 148 yards and a touchdown at the end of the first quarter. And obviously, the big part of it came from that last play, but also their running back, Tejon Henry, has 28 yards on 2 carries, so they're off to a good start. But I think it's 3rd and 2 from Houston's 32 for Tulsa, so they got a shot to keep that drive going, or at the very least kick a field goal if they go that route. But so far, so good after the first quarter.
Now let's talk about, we're about to get into college hoops, H-Town college hoops with Will, Andy. This week, I guess Monday, but it really began last week, rumors circulated that the American was going to add Air Force in Colorado State. I think I heard that from Matt Brown last week, and then Brett McMurphy reported it Monday, Tuesday this week, and that it was close to happening. It was like never say never. but it's going to happen. Thursday, I read Air Force got some major pushback from big money donors about considering going to the AAC. Lo and behold, today, Friday, Air Force announces with Colorado State, we're going to stay in the Mountain West. And they tag it with Boise State. Boise State wasn't going to AAC. Boise State's waiting for the Big 12 to come calling. They're going to sit where they are, being the highest paid team in the Mountain West, and wait for the Big 12 to expand again. So, but Air Force, well, Andy, y'all know, money talks. If enough money talks, attitudes change. So attitudes change today. And now the irony is, with the wishy-washy statement that the American you released, well, we never invited anyone to join. We only talk to teams who are interested in communicating with us about joining. We have not talked to anyone. Okay, whatever. But egg is on the AAC's face, and the Mountain West released a statement hinting at they are looking at adding teams potentially in the future. So I wonder who that could be for the Mountain West. I think first thing, the American needs to go ahead and add UAB from Conference USA. But Memphis won't. Memphis, I think, will wait for the Big 12 to come calling. But this looks kind of bad because now, who was it? The Sun Belt says that we are the top autonomy, non-Power 5 school conference. Then today, Mountain West says we are. The American
Power
is wounded. They're wounded. Power 6, nobody calls that Power 6 except Mike Oresco. But there's thoughts about Andy, their knees being cut from under them today.
Yeah, whenever you sent me the announcement from Air Force that they weren't going to be joining the American, I think I sent you the statement that the American had released that Mike Oresco had mentioned. It seems for all these G5 conferences, I mean, they're just in a wait and see approach. I think I found it interesting that there was so much pushback for Air Force to join the American Athletic Conference. I'm kind of curious as to, why was it so strong? Is it because they view that the American Athletic Conference would be, could it be a step down? Would it be just a lateral move? It's not worth it. I mean,
yeah, it's more lateral move.
Right. So that I found that interesting, but I mean, if the American Athletic Conference isn't going to be able to get any of those programs, like you mentioned, UAB, I mean, man, how the conference has fallen. I mean, UCF, Houston, Cincinnati, you lose those, and the best you can do to replace them. And if anyone's from UAB, no disrespect, but I mean, UAB, I mean, that.
Well, you're right.
And like you mentioned, you got Memphis. I don't even remember what other school it was. It was one of the articles you sent me where they brand themselves Power 6, but clearly Houston, Cincinnati, and UCF didn't buy that. And, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. And Will, that was the commissioner of the Mountain West who said that.
Yeah. Wow.
And, I mean, look at Memphis, look at SMU. If those schools were to get offered an opportunity to join any of the Power 5 conferences, they jump at it as well. So, I mean, geez, what a rough couple of months it has been for Mike Oresco.
Well, what are your thoughts on that news, the American with egg on its face today?
Forgive me for my Kanye-ness for a minute. I'm gonna address that in a minute, but the big money donors for Air Force, is that like, and I'm meaning this in all seriousness, is that like the federal government? What big money donors at Air Force?
See, let's say military government probably got involved,
okay.
or alums of that, connections to it. Yes, let's say it like that. Yes.
Okay, because I hear big money donors at Air Force, I'm like, what? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Go with that. Yeah.
Fair enough. Egg on his face for the American. Yeah, that's Yeah, you can't come out and say you didn't talk to anybody when it's known that you have. And then I guess I'm still on the Power Six thing. I don't understand. You tout yourself as a Power Six, and then three of your hallmark schools in the conference leave, and then we're good, and then other schools and seemingly comparable conferences view you as a step down, so they don't want to come. And it's like, oh no, we're good. And did I see that Oresco got a contract extension?
3-year extension,
Yeah.
yes, sir. Yep.
For
I was
what?
shocked at that. Yep, I was shocked at that.
For what? And with all due respect, why? I mean, I'm not in anybody's pocket by any means. Don't get me wrong. Secure the bag, but for what?
It's got to be stability, but I think Commissioner Oresco and the AAC missed their chance once Oklahoma and Texas, once that was announced they're going to the SEC, and Commissioner Oresco should have right there. It should have invited the Big 12, 4 schools like it was rumored. Just go ahead, just do it. Just put it out there. They had their chance. They had some momentum because at that point, even if it was a day or two, a couple of days, the Big 12, the leftover 8, they were wounded. Okay? So strike while the iron was hot. That passed. The leftover 8 got time to think about it, calm down, look at other situations, reality, and say, we can be good if we get this money. When we get this money from Oklahoma and Texas, let's just hang on. And then TV said, well, if y'all want to continue stabilizing, go and take teams from the American and take. Oh, yeah, let's do that. Mike Oresco think he's big and bad? We're going to show him how big and bad we are compared to the American. Our opportunity gone, and now you got Air Force and Mount West, waving their fist in the air, pointing their finger back at you. Sunbelt pointing their finger back at you. And the money that the American is getting per school, $6 million per, is better than $4 million per in the Mountain West. But that's right now. When Houston, Cincinnati, UCF leave, that number's going to go down. It's just a question of how much is going to go down per school. $4 million per would be lucky. So that's why Craig Thompson, the commissioner of Mountain West, said, at best, that's a lateral move for my schools. So just wait. And that's what, with the help of some big money folks at Air Force, whoever that may be, made them realize, because really, it's just a football move. The travel for the student assets at the Academy of Air Force for the Olympic sports, if you'd have gone to the American, would have been too much, would have made no sense financially for the same amount of money you're getting in the Mountain West with less travel expenses. Good luck to the American. And I keep saying this, we're about to get into U of H clips, but I read this from Pete Thelma from Yahoo. Why are you shaking your head, Andy? What happened in football?
Another scoring update. Houston is up 21-0. I told you Tulsa was driving. The defense was able to get it, force a turnover on downs. And right now, the running back, he's going to be a good player for UH, just broke off a 27-yard run for a touchdown. So Houston's up 21-0.
Okay.
Alton McCaskill scored.
The 4-star, right?
Yeah, was getting interest from Alabama, and I forget what other school, but then the pandemic hit, and the only school he was able to meet in person was Houston, and it worked out in favor for Houston. He stayed here, and he's been on a tear to start the season. He just scored.
Real quick. Yahoo Sports, Pete Thelma wrote this this afternoon, about the mess that Texas and Oklahoma players, well, the administration as well, is going to receive as long as they stay in the Big 12 until they move to the SEC. It's going to be the same thing probably for U of H, UCF, and Cincinnati from fans of schools in the American. Just And the article had quotes from Missouri basketball coach Kim English, the animosity, the fans tossing coins and just all kinds of things at the players when they walk on the football field, and the bitterness. Because, Andy, as we learned this week, once a school announces they're leaving the current conference, they can no longer vote.
Mm.
So U of H has no voting authority in the American now. The American took away the track and field championship they're going to host next spring, and swimming, diving, I think, as well. It's a mess for the players, the student assets. They got to bear the brunt of this. In Longhorn OU case, supposedly 4 years. No, I doubt that. But U of H at least one more year. And based on what I heard this week, it does not seem like U of H is going to pay the extra money to leave the American after this season and is going to be there for another year after this one. Why? See, this is another indication of the administration doesn't think about the players. Let's think about what they're going to go through these next 2 years, being called all kinds of names, being probably hit with objects on the fields of competition because the president and the higher ups went after the bag. They're just not going to care about them. I rambled on. Just, Will, your thoughts on that?
I did read where they took away the track and field championships, and also Leroy Burrell's comments as well. I think that's petty. I mean, very extremely petty.
What's petty is having the American Athletic Conference account, the official account, quote tweet Leroy Burrell's tweet and say, "Oh, this is in our rules that every conference agreed to." I mean, Chris, I think I might have told you. It felt like Mike Oresco himself tweeted that out of the account, responding to Burrell. It was absurd. And
I think UCF was hosting an event as well. They took that away from them.
Yeah,
man.
Softball, tennis, one of those two. I think it might have been softball, but yeah, it's absurd.
It's in the bylaws and all that. Okay, but you're being petty, and you're taking out on the players, the student assets, for something that they had no control over. Okay, who is it hurting for U of H to host the track and field championship?
No one.
And it's moved to, I'm not sure where it's moved to. I don't even know.
Like Wichita State.
Yeah, Mm-hmm. And I'm getting to the point that based on this news this week, I don't blame U of H for taking picture backdrops of U of H Big 12 stuff now.
Yeah.
with no American stuff now. I don't blame them. You're supposed to be adults and be grown-ups. U of H, if they could agree on an amount and have somebody who could just write a check, it'd be gone after this year. I'm convinced of that. But I think Commissioner Oresco is going to try to stick the screws to them and make the price after 1 year be so high, it'd be just unreasonable for U of H to leave after this year. But real quick, and we get to the clips. Kim English, Missouri coach, and this is what, I'm not sure if Coach Sampson would do this, but I know the fans would. If U of H win men's basketball, or women's as well, wins a conference championship this year, if U of H still in the AAC next season, fans start chanting, Big 12, Big 12, Big 12, Big 12, or just whip out Big 12 shirts, holding up the AAC trophy. Just hold it up as they walk off the court. Hey, they're going to be petty. Let's be petty too. I mean,
yeah.
So the fans would do that. The coaches probably won't, although Kim English did apparently. Kim English he had SEC shirts made for the tournament, for the Big 12 tournament. And when they won it, he's like, he did that. He had, so, but okay. First things first, Wednesday this week, women's college basketball started for Houston Cougars women's basketball. Going to hear 3 clips, one each from Coach Ronald Huey, Seaman Senior, Diamond Gladney, and Senior Layla Blair. The first 2, Coach Huey and Diamond Gladney, the team, apparently the players, came up with this slogan of unfinished business. And that's based on, Will, they were the first team among the first 4 out last year to be in the tournament. And really it came out to one bad loss. It was a home loss to a Cincinnati team that
Cincinnati, after they had beaten, I think they were 13th ranked USF.
Just had a big win, and I thought it when they lost. It was a home loss too, and I was like, they just lost their shot. And sure enough, when the tournament announcement came out, the bids came out, U of H was on the outside looking in, waiting to see if another team had COVID issues that they could replace. So that never happened. So U of H went to the WNIT instead. But first up, hope this works. First up, head coach Ronald Huey from Wednesday.
The thing that I love about this group is, like you see them right now, they're always early and ready to go. You know, that's the thing that I think sets the mark for them. You know, they're excited. You know, they came up with their own slogan for this year, unfinished business. So they brought it to me and like, let's use it. I was like, okay.
How will this team be different than last year's team?
You know, like last year at the beginning, we started out with that incredible depth. So this team will be a proven depth. You know, we have some kids that played at other places that are, you know, can naturally fit in and do what we do. Tierra Young is coming around. AJ Thompson is coming around. Big Fatu coming around. You know, so they're starting to understand how we do things. And the boot camp was huge for us with that. You know, and they came out of that and they need a couple of extra days of rest. So that's why we didn't start yesterday. So we started today. But that team, this team, I think, can be really, really good with our depth, and the competitive is crazy. The competition is you'll get a chance to see if you watch some of it today in practice. It's amazing. That's why it's my job to make sure we stand up and live up to the standards that we can really be.
Now, Diamond Gladney, real quick comment
on the motto for this season, unfinished business, what it means.
Well, it's simple. Unfinished business. Like, we have a lot to prove this year, and we have a lot of people to show up and show out on, so it'll be exciting.
Now, Will, the next clip from Layla Blair, she is, how should we say it, Andy, the best player on the team, the future, best scorer. Yeah, let's go with that. The best scorer.
What Ron Huey, I think what you're referring to is what Ron Huey said last year at the beginning before they started their season. He called her ceiling was sky high. I think he compared it to Chandy. You asked if it was Chandy Jones high, and he said it was.
Yeah, and I had to put him in check on that one because Chandy Jones is a Hall of Famer. So Layla Blair has a long way to go to get to that stratosphere. But here we go from Layla Blair.
What did you work on this summer, this off season to improve your game?
So some key things that I worked on, I watched film, so I had to see like my weakest points from last year. So the main thing was being more efficient with my shots, taking out time to focus on my free throws so I can have a higher free throw percentage next year. And also just being an overall like better player and an ultimate teammate. So working on my leadership skills and stuff like that, reading more, practicing interviews more, just doing a lot of different things on the mental aspect as well, because basketball is not just physical, it definitely is mental, really. Like, you have to have that mental strength. So just basically implementing a lot of things that mentally get me strong. So one thing for me that gets me mentally strong is my faith. So my faith, I make sure that I stay consistent and prioritize God in my life. So that's another key thing, and really just working on my skills. And it's always an opportunity for me to grow. So really everything.
That's Layla Blair. So her from Layla Blair and Diamond Gladney, and the full clips obviously are on the Houston Roundball Review YouTube channel, as well as from Julia Blackshell Fair, super senior. She took advantage of the NCAA extra year of eligibility to come back after tearing her ACL in January, I think, Andy. And she made a healthy recovery. Yes. And she thinks she's going to play, I think, as soon as the start of the season in November. So the schedule has been announced for U of H, men and women. The women's team, has a goal of getting to the NCAA tournament. Their non-conference opponents are pretty stellar. You know, they're going to Cancun for the Cancun Challenge. They face Baylor in that challenge, as well as Arizona State. They also have Alabama and Florida State as part of the non-conference schedule. So that's 4 teams from power conferences, of which they're about to become a member of. And Coach Huey said to us that when the announcement to the Big 12 invite for U of H happened, he received phone calls from 9 players. I think he said 9 players ranked in the top 50 in the country who had been or were considering other power programs and now are considering U of H. And getting phone calls from some players who want to transfer to U of H because now you're going to the Big 12. Hey, Coach Huey, you got a spot for me now? I don't know. It's funny how things work. Life comes at you fast. But Andy, what are your thoughts on what have you heard about U of H women's team this year?
Yeah, that's certainly an interesting motto that they chose to go with, but it makes sense. I know last year's they called it the redemption year just after, honestly, how the 2019-20 season had been played. I get the solo shot.
Yeah, I'm going big time, man.
Right, the 2019-20 season, they really struggled, but a lot of it honestly had to do with depth. I think Huey said there were times when they only had like 6 or 7 players, which was brutal for the course of the season. A big difference last year, like you mentioned, being the first team out in the NCAA tournament was tough for them, and then going to the NIT and closing out the season with a win. It was in a consolation bracket, but still being able to close out the season with a win was big for them. And I remember what Ron Huey said when we had him for Pawd, Slama, Jama. I believe it was sometime around August, early mid-August. But I mean that's been the big difference for this team coming next year. I mean that's the big goal. That's the next step to make it to the NCAA tournament. And honestly, what Ron Huey said is for this season, the big goal is going to be going right at UCF, who Houston has really struggled against. That's the team that ended their chance at making the NCAA tournament after they got lost in the American Conference tournament. And then USF, who they were able to beat last season. A huge win for them, and it was unable to catapult them into the NCAA tournament. But that's really what they're trying to accomplish before they head over to the Big 12. And I know one thing Huey has said is once they get to the Big 12, they don't just want to be one of the other teams where we're happy to be here. They're going to want to get to that conference and compete. And it'll be interesting to see how they match up, like you mentioned, against Baylor. Whenever they do, I believe it's Thanksgiving week or sometime around there. So I'll be interested to see how well they match up with them, because obviously historically with how good that program has been now, in the coming year or two, once they are in that conference, they're going to have to see them year in and year out. So it'll be interesting, like you said, to see how they match up with those Power 5 schools.
Very good, Andy. Solos layout right there. See, that's how we're going to do it.
That caught me off guard for a second.
My apologies, Wilkes. I should have given that to you for the Ohio State segment, but I'll be doing that going forward. That's where we're going to do things for Folks Talking Sports. Give y'all time to shine. And you got another update to share?
Yeah, I believe that U of H just scored again, so it's 28-0, and this one was another short pass to receiver for Nathaniel Dell. He fumbled at the goal line, so they were at the 1 yard line, and then they just handed it off to Alton McCaskill again. So he has 3 touchdowns in the first half, and U of H is up 28-0.
And let's be clear, Tulsa is not a very good football team.
No, they
are. They're not.
They are.
And to Dana's credit, he does a good job of beating teams that aren't very good.
They're supposed to win.
Yes, he wins those games.
He's done a good job.
He takes care of that. Now, teams that are as good or better, that's where he has struggled. And I think those struggles will continue next Friday on the road against Tulane. But first things first, beat Tulsa tonight, improve to 4-1, and convince some people, some fans that, see, we told you Dana's a great coach. Slow down. Okay.
They got to prove it.
Now
they got to prove it.
Yeah, beat SMU. because SMU beat TCU.
Beat Memphis.
So yeah,
those are going to be the toughest conference games. Next week will be challenging because it'll be a Thursday night game, like you mentioned, at Tulane. What they were able to do to begin the season in Norman against Oklahoma, that was big for them, but they've kind of cooled off since that opener. But still, that's a team that last year were the first game of the season for UH were beating up the Cougars. It was 24-0 at the first quarter, and UH was able to rally back and win that game to their credit. But that'll be a tough challenge. But if they can get past this game, if they somehow lose this game, it'll be a major class. It looks like they'll win this game against Tulsa. And if they can win against Tulane, they'll have good momentum. And like I said, at Memphis and SMU are the toughest challenges for the regular season. And if they can win those games,
slow down, Andy. Slow down. We still said 8-4.
Cincinnati.
We still said 8-4. So let's not get ahead of ourselves because they're 4-1 potentially after tonight. Okay. Well, you said minimum.
Correct. But that's looking at long term.
Yeah,
you're right. I'll reel it back. So if they can beat Tulsa, which it looks like they are going to do, it'll be Tulane, and I think that'll be the third game in like 12 days for them. So they're certainly going to be feeling it by the time they have to play Tulane. But yeah, like you mentioned it, they've done a good job under Dana Holgorsen beating the teams that are bad. They're supposed to be. They just haven't had any marquee, any signature wins under Holgorsen.
Will, about to switch to U of H men. U of H men went to the Final Four last year. 28-4. If I were to tell you this year's team will be more athletic than that team, what would you say?
As far as their Final Four chances, or just saying?
No. This year's team looks to be more athletic and better defensively than last year's team.
They should be. They didn't rest on their laurels. They improved.
I'm glad you said that, Will. First up, we got Fabian White, then Marcus Sasser, and then wrap it up with head coach Kelvin Sampson.
I feel great physically. I feel like I'm in the best shape of my life, and this is probably the most mobile big man group we had. And I think the slowest time we had in our mile was a 5:45 for our big man. So that's pretty good. Seeing how big he is, seeing a 6'10", about like 250. So I feel like this year this is the most athletic team I've been on, and it's going to be. We're definitely going to be great on defense, but we got to see how we're going to be on offense.
Lost Will. Hope he comes back because I want him to hear that. But now
we just lost Will.
But now we got because you probably heard it, but I want to hear Marcus Sasser's comments as well for the viewers. Marcus, give us a kind of a scouting report on the newcomers. What will they provide the team, this year's team?
I think this year's team is very, very athletic. We can be great on the defensive end. Kyler Edwards from Texas Tech, he's a great shooter. He can help space the floor. He's also a great defender. Tajay, he's probably the most athletic dude I've seen in person ever. So he's very athletic and help on the defensive end. And the three freshmen we have, Ramon, Javier, and Robbie, they're really all athletic too and can help defensive and rebounding wise. So I feel like this year's teams can play way much faster than we did last year. And, very athletic. So we'll be better defensively also.
Oh, let's line up Will here. Before I bring in Coach Sampson, Will, did you hear that?
I did.
What are your thoughts on that? And Tajay Moore is a transfer from the Big West Conference.
Okay.
But his hops, use social media, YouTube, just Google. My goodness. And this is after he's had 5 surgeries on his leg.
Oh, wow.
And he still has springs. Maybe they put in some springs in his legs, man, instead of ligaments and stuff. Because his hops are insane. He had a clip. Andy, did you see the clip on Twitter? He did a pass off the backboard
I
where
believe I did.
he did I might even try to describe it like a double tap off the backboard and dunk it. Like he passed it off the backboard and then it hit the backboard again when he caught it and backed it off the backboard and then dunked it. It's ridiculous. And he's going to come off the bench to shore up the defense. They're going to be aggressive, going to be athletic. Fabian being not, talking about the big man running a 540 mile. That's Josh Carlton, transfers from UConn. They're going to be, on paper, they're going to be too deep at every position. The biggest question is Marcus Sasser adjusting to his role as a point guard, more of a passer and facilitator. And of course, getting to the Final Four is not a birthright. You're just not going to wake up in the morning and, hey, we're in the Final Four. Need some luck, need some good health and all those things. But for those people, and I'm not throwing shade at Memphis. I'm not throwing shade at the national writers touting Memphis. All I'm saying is don't forget about the team that from the conference that went to the Final Four. They're going to be just as good, if not better, than last year's team. And Andy, let's see, the schedules came out. Was it yesterday? The first U of H Memphis matchup will be, I'm pulling it up here, February 12th on ABC, Will. On ABC.
Prime time, 2:30 slot, ABC on
Saturday, February 12th. And then I'll wrap it up in the regular season on March 6th at Memphis on CBS.
So we called it. We called it whenever, I believe when Imani Bates committed to Memphis, we said, I could totally see them putting one game on ABC, the other on CBS, which I'm not sure before, but I know the last 2 seasons that I've covered on those games have been on CBS, the last one to end the season. I find it interesting, though, that usually the Memphis game where they play in Memphis is in February and the regular season finale is in Houston. And this year they changed it up a little bit. Someone within the program mentioned that it's just interesting schedule-wise. I wonder if the American did that on purpose.
Well, last year, the game, I think the end of the season was supposed to have been in Memphis, but because of all the cancellations and stuff like that, Houston got it. Coach Sampson, it's not our fault, Memphis, the first matchup, whatever kind of thing. So that's why it ended up in Houston. And Memphis folks who are unhappy and, whatever. But we're going to get to, got some comments from Rocket People, comment from Adolphus Moore, who's going to be in Rochester, New York this Sunday for the Texans-Bills game. Going to do a live stream show after that game with our colleagues in New York. We got folks in New York who are helping us out. Folks, I'm telling you, Houston Roundball Review is going places, people. I'm just telling you, just stick with us and enjoy the ride. But here we go. I'm going to wrap it up and answer those questions. But yes, final comment will be from head coach Kelvin Sampson, and then we'll get into comments from our viewers on Folks Talking Sports. Here we go.
No two teams are alike. This team will have to find its voice. This team's going to have to find its identity. But our coaching staff will help them along the way. Really haven't thought about our games or anything. We just focused on getting to these first few practices and just continue to get better. But I'm anxious to see how everybody mixes and blends with each other, and who's willing to sacrifice and who's willing to, like Dejan last year. He had a couple of games where he scored well, and we lost those games. I think it was at East Carolina, at Wichita State. We weren't going to win with Dejan being our leading scorer, and I had to sit him down and explain that to him. I said, winning has to be more important than statistics. And so that was a huge sacrifice that he made. I think he's benefiting from that right now, and talking with him at the Pacers training camp. But every team has to go through that. Who's willing to give something up for team gains? I'm anxious to see how that plays out here in the next couple of weeks.
All right, that's Coach Sampson. I think it's important what he said. Got to see this team's identity.
Yeah, that's interesting that he told you guys in the morning, because he repeated that in the afternoon whenever I got a chance to interview him. That's something he said. I believe he said it years past too, but every team's different, and I think it was early in the morning when he said it's not fair to, when you compare the losses they've had, like you mentioned Dejan there, but also Quentin Grimes, Justin Gorham, like those are seniors, or I guess in Quentin's case he wasn't senior, but he was a big part of the team. And comparing any of the new players, especially at the beginning of the season, Kelvin says that it wouldn't be a justice to them, or it wouldn't be fair to compare them. So it's interesting that that's something that he repeated.
Now let's get into this. Gary Bankson, I'm going to post your comment, and I got thoughts on this, and I want y'all's take on this as well. He read that Philly wants Wall, KPJ, and picks for Simmons and Thibault. Rockets ain't trading KPJ. No. And I don't know why Philly would want John Wall and his $91 million. So y'all go ahead and comment on it, and then we'll talk about it. Go ahead.
No, that's not what happened. I think if anything, Philly and Houston and a third team, but not for KPJ. My affinity for him. I wish he never left Cleveland, but I understood. I'm happy for him because basketball aside, I listened to him media day as well on Monday, and he's in a place that he's in a place that I don't want to say cares for him more, but he's in a stable environment for him. A place that it's allowing him to flourish off the court. Y'all know what he can do on the court. He did that in Cleveland. But to have him in a place off the court that he's comfortable, that he's able to benefit from the resources that the Rockets have provided him with, that Cleveland just didn't do. They tried. They thought they did. But I'm happy for him as a person more so than a player. But that being said, they're not gonna. He's right where. No, that's not gonna happen.
Agreed. And Will just gave
exactly
another indication of why he's part of Folks Talking Sports. In case folks, why Kris and Andy, being from H-Town, got a guy from Ohio on the show. Because he covers Ohio sports and he's covered KPJ. He covers Big Ten sports. We're not just going to talk H-Town teams on Folks Talking Sports. And at some point, as we do these shows, I want to talk boxing. I don't know if y'all saw the fight Saturday, and Anthony Joshua lost to Alexander Usyk, but the better man won that fight. But anyway, Will's going to give his thoughts on this. That trade rumor. And the viewers know, Will knows, it only takes one team to blink and say, let's make this deal. I don't see that one team making a deal right now for John Wall. Ben Simmons, Daryl Morey got to blink. And so far, he's shown no indication that he's going to do that. I think it's inevitable that he's going to do it. And it might need for Joel Embiid to say, look, Daryl Morey, he don't want to be here. We don't want him here. Get his butt gone. Get what you can for him. Let's move on. Let's go to war with what we got here in the locker room. Forget him. Maybe that's what it's going to have to take. But we'll see. Next, bring this up as well. I think Mr. Moore is being. I think that's more of a national media angle of it. Larry Brown is. How can I put this without sounding wimpy? Larry Brown is a hell of a coach. Okay, he's a hell of a coach. He is a pain. He is such a stickler for details. He drives point guards insane. He's so old school, it rubs some people the wrong way. okay? But he's a hell of a coach. He has a reputation as a great builder, but he also has a reputation for burning bridges and leaving teams that he coaches in a mess. Memphis is touted as a national favorite Final Four contender because of the recruits that they brought in, as well as Larry Brown and Rasheed Wallace on the coaching staff. Plus, they think it's time for Penny Hardaway to finally get his team to the NCAA tournament and not just win the NIT. So, and Brandy, great point. But AI and Larry Brown clash heads all the time.
Yep.
Because of AI's personality, his style. It took them a good while to mesh and realize what works best for the team. But oh no, Larry Brown is old school to his bones, okay? And if you don't change, chances are, and my goodness, Larry Brown is what? Is he 80 years old? I mean, he's up there in age, man, so
he is.
He's just setting his ways. And I wonder, and Penny has wanted LB be part of his staff for a while. But I wonder if at some point, will he get on Penny's nerves? Because that's what Larry Brown does. I mean, that's just really what he does. Keep in mind, flashing back, he led the Pistons to the finals again after winning the championship. The second trip to the finals, he was looking at other jobs while coaching the Pistons to the finals. That's what he does. So, I digress. But yes, Quentin Grimes, Brandon Thomas, to answer your question, is with the Knicks. And
they also have, going back to the Memphis coaching staff, they have Rasheed Wallace on the staff too, correct?
Yes, they sure do.
Yes.
Rasheed Wallace.
Interesting
dynamic. He and Larry Brown got that North Carolina Tar Heel ties, and that bond is amazing. I mean, that goes back. The alums from the 60s support the alums to the present. It is Dean Smith. He did a great job keeping that family together. Quinn Grimes and the Knicks. Q seems to be fitting in well. Knicks fans seem to love him and expect big things from him. Wish him the best of luck going forward this season in his NBA career. And did you see John Rothstein's tweet about the Maui Invitational? Oh, well, you too. Did you see it being moved to Vegas?
Yep, I saw that.
So, yes, I'm assuming it had to do with pandemic problems.
Yep,
in Maui, COVID issues. So in Vegas, November 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. 24th is Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Man, oh man. I'm just saying, if I can convince my mom's caregiver to do a brother a solid,
Vegas for Thanksgiving.
I might try to go there. So I'm going to try. We'll see. But yeah, Vegas is cheaper than Maui. Okay.
For sure.
When you're on a budget like I am, you got to get it where you can fit in. So, but yes, Brandon, Rasheed is a coach. Rasheed coached some high school / I won't say high school.
Yeah.
Previous years. Yeah. And Rasheed's basketball IQ is amazing. Okay. It's off the chart high. He just drove me nuts and a lot of people nuts who followed him and were fans of the team that he played. He just didn't seem to love basketball enough to bring his talents to the forefront all the time. Because, Will, you saw it.
Yep.
Rasheed in the post with that high release.
Yep.
It was darn near unstoppable. He just wouldn't do it enough. He just would float in out of games, offensively, defensively. But when he was locked in, Rasheed, there weren't too many bigs better than him, man. So yeah. So if he can teach the bigs at Memphis some of his skills and on the block, Memphis has something there. And of course, he didn't start it. He just made it famous. Ball don't lie.
Ball don't lie.
So yeah,
Ball don't lie.
I think writer in San Antonio Express News made it. He created it, but he's what is it? What is it though? He was
the LeBron comment.
Well, see, there we go. Rashid says stuff. I mean, Rashid kind of like
a hot topic,
kind of like Kyrie. Rashid, similar to Kyrie, he just says stuff. Sometimes he just says stuff to say stuff to get people to talk about him.
Yep.
You just gotta take it for the source and do it what you want. But he is a good coach. He's a good communicator. He is outlandish, but that's Rashid. Did y'all see the comment? Was it Brandon? Was it you? With 33 wins? Well, see, you're close to Andy. Andy said 31 and 51. I said 21 and 61. I think the some Vegas lines predict between 22 and 25. 25, I think, that's where I cap out at. Because if the Rockets win 33 games, they won't get a high pick, a lottery pick. And they need another high lottery pick, in my opinion, to continue their path to be a championship contender and not just a middle of the pack playoff, first round exit team in 2 years. But whatever. But yeah, Brandon, I haven't changed it. Look at the month of December schedule, Brandon. Go look at December schedule and you tell me how many wins you think that we get in December. And I don't mind being wrong because it'd be more fun for me because Rocket fans love them some Rockets and they love the Houston Roundball YouTube channel and they come to it. So, but my prediction ain't got nothing to do with them on the court. They don't care about what I say about their predictions, and why should they? I'm just putting it out there. But this is all good. Brandon Thomas, thank you for tuning in as always. And Rocket fans, I'm going to have a Rocket Talk live stream tomorrow. 8 p.m. Eastern, Will.
Thank you.
7 p.m. Central, something around that time. I haven't really decided yet. It might be a little later than that. I haven't decided, but we're talking Rockets specifically tomorrow. So appreciate that. I just love Rocket fans come tune in to folks talking sports to talk Rockets. See, they get us, we're trying to talk Coogs and other stuff. They get us on the Rocket tangent. It's all good, though. Of course, I started with the John Wall conversation. But Andy, did you notice the U of A schedule, men's basketball schedule? The team that U of H plays twice, men, play twice on ESPN Plus.
For conference?
Yes, conference opponent. They play twice on ESPN Plus. I think is an indication of what
and Tulane.
Yes, I think that is an indication of what the expectations are, especially for South Florida, and they probably are justified because you talk about a program that's fallen on hard times the last few years. Man, oh man.
Right.
But yeah, U of H men's hoops. Not many games are on ESPN Plus. Majority of them are on ESPN2, the big networks, ESPN2, ESPN, some ESPNU games, and of course ABC and CBS. This being the second year of the TV deal for the conference, they got Wichita State got games on CBS. Memphis, you're seeing what Commissioner Resco touted when the deal was signed a couple of years ago, that this is more basketball games on linear networks. It looks good. It's just, ironically now, in 2 years from now, U of H will be on Big Monday on ESPN. So, and ABC, I think Big 12 games on ABC a lot more on Saturdays than AAC games. But it all works out like that. Will, I'm gonna come to you, brother, to give your shine, your spot. You got solo screen, man, so you can plug your work, plug your site, and then Andy will come to you. You can do the same solo screen. Go ahead. What do you got to say?
Before I do that, can I plug an Ohio State basketball piece real quick?
You want solo screen?
Yeah, that's however you want to do it.
Let's do it.
However you want to do it. All right.
You got it.
How did he
Oh, look at that. See?
We lost him the moment he went to the solo screen.
Bryce Sensabaugh.
Try it again.
What
Start over. You froze there. Start over.
All right. So Ohio State received a commitment on Wednesday from 4-star small forward Bryce Sensabaugh from Orlando, Florida. It's their 5th commit for the class of 2022. Brings their class to 2nd ranked overall, just behind Duke and ahead of Kentucky 3, Carolina 4. And you can always reach me at Will Gibson 7 on Twitter and Instagram, Will Knows on Facebook, and WTGsports.com.
Thank you, Will. And real quick, since you brought up a commit, I haven't seen, I'm still looking for it on social media. I haven't seen it on his TikTok announcing it, but he was Jared Mccain from California, class of 23, was supposed to take a visit to U of H today through Sunday. He is a rising, I think he's 5-star now. He's a rise. He went from unranked to blowing up this summer to being top 20 to a 5-star. He's a 6'2", 6'3" scoring guard who can rebound and dish it up. You know, that's a Kelvin Sampson player right there who can score, rebound, defend, and pass. So if he's here, hope he made it here and dodge the raindrops. And U of H is one of 4 or 5 schools he's considering. But that's a 5-star. So you're seeing U of H bringing in or 5-star players considering U of H.
There's still Walker,
more and more.
Jace Walker too.
Yeah, Jared should be here. I think he's on Alabama's campus this weekend, but he's scheduled to be at U of H at the end of this month. And take it for what it's worth. People in the know, this may change, of course, but people in the know expect him or say that Jairus Walker will commit to U of H. This hasn't happened yet, but he's a 5-star, 6'9", athletic big man who looks like his physique looks like Isaiah Stewart, mostly like Ben Wallace. Off top of my head, that kind of build. Okay.
Right.
So yeah. But we're gonna wrap it up. Andy, you're next. You can give a football update and then remind folks how they can find you all over the place because you're a busy man too. Solo for you as well, brother.
Right. They can follow me on Twitter at Yanez_5. Anyone in the Pearland Friendswood area could follow. I work at Community Impact Newspaper and also Pawd, Slama, Jama for UH Athletics. Currently, UH is still winning 28-3. Tulsa scored off. It looked like they were going to have a field goal opportunity at least, and Clayton Tune threw an interception in the red zone. So they haven't been perfect, but as close to dominant as possible in the first half. And I was remiss. I didn't do that one time. This show, and my apologies to my colleagues. So let's close it out with that. How to find them on Twitter as well as me. I'm not going to do solo screen because I want people to see that while the two of them are on screen as well. I'm Kris Gardner of the Houston Roundball Review. Houston Roundball Review presents Folks Talking Sports. Thank you for the people tuning in on Facebook and YouTube. Houston Roundball Review has been around since 1994. That's longer than Andy Yanez has been alive. Talking basketball, Houston Roundball Review on YouTube, Houston Roundball Review on Instagram. Twitter, you see scrolling across the screen, is some folks say the HR Review. Hope y'all are enjoying these live stream shows we're doing as part of Folks Talking Sports. I'll be doing a Rockets Talk stream show tomorrow, October 2nd. I'll post it and put a link on the YouTube channel tomorrow. Haven't decided on time yet, but looking forward to Rocket fans tuning in and asking questions and grilling me, but having fun, because that's what it's all about, having fun and sharing some knowledge and insight with you. Going to wrap it up and close it out. Guys,
Are we good again for next Friday? I don't think the Rockets play next Friday preseason game, do they?
Cavs
No.
play next Friday. I'm not.
So you're not okay. So when are you available then, Will? Saturday? You got a football game? Buckeyes play next Saturday?
Buckeyes play Saturday. Yes, they play Maryland at noon Eastern. Yeah.
Okay, and then you got the Browns on the 10th. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
So you're busy. Let's see. Rock's got a home game on Thursday the 7th. We'll figure it out, and I'll announce it. We'll put it on our Twitter accounts. And, of course, Andy created the Folks Talk Sports Twitter account. If you haven't already signed up, followed us on there, please do so. I need to add that to the scroll. So folks to join and follow us is Folks Talk Sports on Twitter. We're growing. We're getting better. The clips, adding it to it. And we got to start, I guess we got to create a little time, a little corner, a pocket of the show for entertainment purposes. A little Yanez, Willy Gibson picking a game discussion where y'all have a discussion about a matchup so we can put out and include our clip. So that can be a part of the show going forward. What you got, Will?
To that point, I had something like that today. So, do the Texans feel disrespected? And I say this is why I say that, because the Jets, everybody knows the Jets. Yeah, 17-point underdogs to the Bills. Like, that's college football point spread stuff. And then the Jets, who everybody knows, the Jets are not good. They're a 7-point underdog.
We lost him again.
But the Texans are a 17-point underdog to Buffalo. That's crazy.
But could that be a combination of Davis Mills and being a rookie and Buffalo playing well? As I heard, because I didn't watch, Buffalo masked the Washington football team last Sunday, the team I used to root for when I cared about the NFL. Could it be that part of it? I think 17 points screams for letdown, after the big win this past Sunday, but we shall see. Okay, Will, are you guaranteeing the Texans will cover the 17 points? Do you want to put it out there? Or are you going to do it?
Listen. That's Andy's stick, man. I'm listening. I am going to.
Andy, do you want to do it? Do you want to guarantee the Texans and the 17 over the Bills?
No, I won't. Just in turn, I think it's going to be, I don't think it'll be pretty on Sunday. Buffalo's coming in hot. Honestly, Buffalo might be, I know it's a completely different team, but I'm pretty sure they still haven't forgotten 2019 when they came in here and had like a 16-0 lead and ended up blowing it and lost it. And that's when Houston advanced in the playoffs. So they probably still remember that. They lost 15 to Carolina. In Buffalo. I don't think I'd be surprised if it's closer than 17, the final score.
Okay.
I will say,
go ahead.
Davis Mills, that's a big part of it. Just be flat out. I don't think they'd be 17-point underdogs if Tyrod Taylor was starting, but I think the certainly with the Texans they're already kind of weren't expected to be good, and they're dealing with injuries, so that's a big part of it. But they struggle to stop Sam Darnold. So they're going to really struggle to try to stop Josh Allen.
Fair enough. I just look forward to whenever you guarantee a pick to play the clip. So. Because I want it to become part of the Folks Talking Sports show. And Will, Andy's so hip, or our show is getting so hip, he started to write it down or type it as FTS. Folks Talking Sports. So yes, we're getting to be just 3 letters now. We're getting to be on that level.
How about let's go.
So how about that? So yeah. All right, fellas, thank you again, and hang tight. So we'll finalize when we're going to be on again. To people who tuned in, thank you very much. Appreciate your support. We're 1 month away from our first sponsor of Folks Talking Sports for college basketball season. Look for that. I hope y'all enjoy what we're doing. And I think, well, we got to agree on a date, but we're going to have a new guest on our shows in the future. Jayla Mason with the Daily Cougar. She'll be on to talk sports, obviously, duh, and share her insight with us and the audience. So got a new addition coming to the family. This is what we do. Folks Talking Sports, guys. Y'all be safe. Take care. See you soon.